Hello again. Hello, hi. The network kicked me out. As you all know, the network kicked me out. But you know what it is already. I'm not too worried. I quickly want to read section 51. So like I said, for workers in Nigeria, if you are in employment in Nigeria, you need to be reading section 17, 3A, B, 3B, C and D. 3B, C and D. You shouldn't be treated in an inhumane manner. Good afternoon, Babatunde Alegbere, my brother. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing? So you should not accept it. I want Nigerians to focus on section 17.3, C, B, C, and D. If you're a worker in Nigeria, you can use that. B talks about being treated in an inhumane manner. What the governors and the government officials, the federal government officials and local government officials are doing, withholding your pay for months on end, is inhumane and it's unjust. And it's abuse. So on the grounds of that alone, as a citizen of Nigeria to whom sovereignty belongs, you have the power to challenge them. And I want Nigerians to be aware of this fact. I want Nigerians to be aware of that fact. That's why I quickly wanted to go into that and I talk about it. And I might raise it at some point later on. Section 17, 3, B, C, and D. And I will try and see if I can post it. Let me see if I can put section 17, 3, B, C, and D. Let's see if I can put that. Workers pay. Let me just put that so I can put this down quickly. Read section 17. I'm just putting this up quickly so I could. So I want to see let people understand. 17.3. B, C, and D. B, comma. C, comma. No, C and D of the Nigerian Constitution and D of the Nigerian Constitution. Nigerian Constitution. So I'm going to just put that down there. Right, okay. So I've just put that there because I want people to relate to that. So if you are a worker in Nigeria, be it in the local, state, or federal, you need to start arming yourself with the knowledge of section 17, 3, B, C, and D. You are a citizen of Nigeria. Sovereignty belongs to us. It belongs to the people of Nigeria. And we are the ones who are electing these looters into power. And unless we start reading this constitution and start using it to empower ourselves, we will remain in bondage to the looters in power. And we need to tackle them head on using this constitution. The Bible will not do it. The Quran will not do it. The only tool that you will use to free yourself from this bondage is this constitution. Imperfect as it is, that is the way forward. And I suggest and I urge every Nigerian that's listening to me now to please share the constitution. Share it. If you got friends and family, let them know. Let me see if I can post it on here. I'll post it and see if I can post it, pin it. Will you let me pin? Sometimes this thing is a bit temperamental. Sometimes I can post it. Sometimes they won't let me post it. It just depends on how it feels. But I'm not too bothered. I've pinned the constitution on there. I want you all to please download it, share it, and I urge at this point I will take the opportunity to urge Nigerians to please join the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. Shortly we need to reach in Nigeria. We need to reach 180 to 200 million Nigerians. That's who we need to reach in Nigeria. We need to reach 180 to 200 million Nigerians. Now, it's not something I can do on my own. So that's why that group, the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group, that's why it's formed. That's why and in that group, we encourage people to post ideas, to read the Constitution, to talk about new ideas. If they find something about the Constitution, that's what sharing, to share it on that in that group and make people aware and have discussions around that. And many of the topics you will see within the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group are based around our constitution to make sure that we share that knowledge. It is our duty as citizens of Nigeria to share that knowledge among ourselves. That's the only way we can collectively empower ourselves. Good afternoon to you. Our people will be far better knowing the constitution. Indeed, my brother. That's absolutely. I'm going to just pin that document, that comment. It's absolutely right. We are far better off knowing the constitution, despite the imperfections within it. So I wanted to state that. And like I said, I welcome people to join me on the Constitutional Hour and to join the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. The name of the last bit of it, action group, is a nod and a nod to our elders, the late Obafemi Awolowo, that created the action group back in the late 50s or 60s, thereabout, and how we formed that movement to now become something that got him into government premiership as the governor of the southern Nigeria. So these are the kind of things that there are connections to what I'm saying. We have got to empower ourselves. We need to go back to our grassroots. We need to learn our constitution. We need to empower our people. Those in power now want to suppress and oppress and impoverish. And our job is to reverse all of that, to wake people up to know their rights and to demand their rights. So I'm going to read section 71 and see how far I go. I might go up to section 76, depending on how long this is going for. And also I'm conscious, because I was thrown out, I might get thrown out by Facebook again. But I'm going to read section 71. Section 71 states, subject to provisions of section 72 of this constitution, the Independent National Electoral Commission shall divide each state of the federation into 3 senatorial districts for the purpose of elections to the Senate, and B, subject to the provisions of section 49 of this constitution, divide the federation into 360 federal constituencies for the purposes of election for the House of Representatives. So that's the breakdown. We know we have 774 local governments in Nigeria, so that's just a little side note that I wanted to put there. So it's pretty much what they structured. So each state will have 3 senators, and then you have 360 federal constituencies for the purposes of election of the House of Representatives. Okay, so that's fine. It's pretty much straightforward. That's why we have the 109 or something senators, and then the number of people, House of Senators, House of Reps that we have, because of what is stated within our constitution. There might have been some changes to that, but essentially those are rules that to be followed. No problem there. They can be challenged, and they can be restructured. There can be issues around the way the states were created and the manner in which they were trying to sort of access these resources and everything else, and bypass states in many cases so that people can access the resources. But that's another discussion. What we are now looking at is just the constitution stripped down, and for us to be able to relate to our daily lives. That's what I'm hoping that people will do. Section 72. No senatorial district or federal constituency shall fall within more than one state, and the boundaries of each district or constituency shall be as contiguous as possible, and be such that the number of inhabitants thereof is nearly equal to the population quota, as is reasonably practicable. Section 73(1). The Independent National Electoral Commission shall review the division of states and of the federal into senatorial districts and federal constituencies at intervals of not less than 10 years, and may alter the districts or constituencies in accordance with the provisions of this section to such an extent as it may consider desirable in the light of the review. Fine, okay, they can have a review to see if the way the setup of each senatorial districts, federal constituencies, if it needs to be rejigged due to boundary movement or changes. Fine. That's straightforward, nothing to argue about there. Section 73(2). Notwithstanding the subsection 1 of this constitution, the Independent National Electoral Commission may at any time carry out such review and alter districts or constituencies in accordance with the provision of this section to such an extent as it considers necessary, in consequence of any amendment to section 8 of this constitution or any provision replacing that section, or by reason of the holding of a census of the population, or pursuant to an act of the National Assembly. Okay, straightforward. I already one issue. There's an area there that I have an issue. The census issue. We need to. That's something that we should be really looking at, because we still do not have precise numbers of the number of Nigerians that we have, and it seems as though when they're going to make all these boundary changes and movements within INEC and everything else, there seems to be some sort of political moves that are behind all of this. And it's not something, the changes in some places, the changes that are brought forward within INEC are often political rather than for the benefit of Nigerians, if you see what I mean. There are political moves that's going to mean that the party in power will benefit from urging, often directing INEC in a particular way when they're making all these changes. So that's something for us to be reading and looking at. But the more we know about this collectively, the more we, the people, can actually go in and go, hang on, well, you're doing this. You are the party in power. Why is that? You can ask those kind of questions. And particularly if you're in that particular area that is affected, you collectively can go and demand that they put a stop to these kind of things. But, again, unless we are reading the Constitution, we can't ask such questions. And the reading of the knowledge of the Constitution merely empowers us, it gives us the knowledge. So I always say at this point, I ask people to please share. Please share the information, share the first part of the of this broadcast, and of course share this second part. 74, where the boundaries of any territorial district or federal constituency established under Section 71 of this Constitution are altered in accordance with the provisions of Section 73 hereof, the alteration shall come into effect after it has been approved by each House of the National Assembly and after the current life of the Senate. In the case of an alteration to the boundaries of the senatorial district or the House of Senate, in the case of alteration to the boundaries of the federal constituency. So yeah, I mean, again, they're talking about the boundary changes and how that the laws allows them, to what extent the law allows them to make those changes. Straightforward in many respects. There might be an argument for us to be able to discuss that in a bit more, technical way. That's fine. I mean, reading again, what I always say to people, I read this, and as I'm reading it to you, I'm getting that knowledge as well. And I always encourage people to go back and reread it. So if you have something that you that I read that you think, okay, it could go a particular way, by all means, bring it up. Let's have it a talk as a topic of discussion. Talk about the particular section it relates. Let's discuss that. That's why I encourage Nigerians to join me in the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group, so that we can really empower Nigerians, to know our rights. I probably won't read too much more now. I'm going to read maybe to section 76 or 77 maybe. Let's just see how that goes. Section 75 now goes, for the purpose of this section 72 of the Constitution, the number of inhabitants in Nigeria or any part thereof shall be ascertained by reference to the 1991 census of the population of Nigeria or the latest census held in pursuance of an act of the National Assembly after coming into force for the provisions of the part of this chapter of this Constitution. Again, I have a problem with Section 75 right there. I have a problem with it because, again, for me, the Constitution, our census has been a flawed process from day one. It's been a flawed process, and we need accurate census numbers. Now, I am of the opinion, and I support Davidson when he talks about having data collection. I am of that opinion that we, the people, need to ensure that we oversee. We encourage our government to collect data that will be ultimately beneficial to the services that we need, the infrastructure that we need, to be able to plan for each local government based on the number of people, accurate number of people in that local government, not number of cows and goats in the place, in addition to the people. So I have a big problem with our census calculations, and the thing within here, yes, it's written in a way that yes, we're going to refer to 1991 census, but can we rely on that? Again, let's read this Constitution. Let's now use the basis. There are many parts of it that work. There are many parts of it that I don't agree with. But what I'm saying is that unless we are reading this Constitution like I am doing now, and trying to interpret and understand the meaning behind it, we can't use the document. And that is what we must be doing, because we've been separated. Nigerians collectively, 200 million Nigerians have been separated from their rights, and the rights as contained within this Constitution, they are the most important document to your life. Not the Bible, not the Quran, the Constitution. The Constitution. The Constitution. And I will keep saying it. And I will keep saying it, and I'm encouraging Nigerians, even though it is not perfect, it is what we got, and we can use it to the best of our ability to get the life that we need, to get the infrastructure that we need, because we can hold those who are in power to account, because they are ultimately serving us. Sovereignty belongs to the people, and we, the people, must begin to take active part in our own governance. We are mandated to take active part in our governance, and by doing this process, I'm hoping to open the eyes of millions of Nigerians to begin to encourage us to start with our kids from the age of 4 so they know their rights. So that if they go across anywhere in Nigeria, they can stand and talk about their rights. No police officer, no army, no politician will come and give them 5,000 naira if you know your rights. Because you will say, no, that's not what my constitution says. My constitution says that you're supposed to provide facilities to ensure the free movement of goods and services across the federation. Section 16(2)(a), I think, B, something like that. So you know, these are the kind of things that I want Nigerians to really be aware of. And I want people to be able to know this constitution off head in some instances. If you don't know the off head, know the section to go to when you're reading it. Have it on your phone, have it as a booklet, have it next to you. It should be part and parcel of yourself. Your constitution will determine, will protect your very life. It will do. Like I said, it's not perfect, but there's enough in there for you to hold this government to account. There is. So I'm going to read section 76. Elections to each House of National Assembly shall be held on a date to be appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The date mentioned in subsection of 1 of this section shall not be earlier than 60 days before and not later than the date on which the House stands dissolved, or where the election to fill a vacancy occurring more than 3 months before such date, not later than 1 month after the vacancy occurred. Okay, straightforward. Can't argue with that. It's you know, it's all there. Thanks, Bright. Thank you for your comment earlier on, and you know, for your explaining the benefits of joining the Citizen AY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. And I hope many Nigerians please join. What I'm trying to do is we need to create an army of constitutional experts. When I say experts, not that you're qualified. You know, I'm not giving any certificate to anybody. That's not my role. What I want is for Nigerians to take on the role of knowing our rights, and not only knowing the right, but sharing that knowledge with fellow Nigerians, so that we can begin to change the mindset of our people. The mindset of Nigerians has been corrupted by this religious dogma that we've been placed. Section 10 states that no religion shall be adopted as state religion. That's what section 10 states. Yet we have government officials that will continue to come to you and tell you, let us pray for Nigeria. In the Senate, today, people were the officers, the army officers that were killed. They were doing prayers. They were doing proposing amendments for prayers in the Senate. What has prayer got to do with stopping the killing of people in Nigeria? How will prayer stop the killings going on? We need action, concrete action. We need a Senate that will have the powers to mandate that the army go to that section, secure it, and stop the killings. Make sure that the police also work in tandem with the army to secure the lives of Nigerians, which is their ultimate job. The ultimate job of any government is to secure the lives of Nigerians. So when these people come and start telling you to start praying, prayer has no part to do, no part to play in our constitution. And that's why I come on and I talk about this. And I posted section 10 onto the Citizen AY Action Group, and I post it as a piece there so that people are reminded when anybody tells you, when Osibajo or Buhari or Basanjo or Babangida tell you, let us pray, only God will save Nigeria. Just know that they are lying to you. They are telling you lies. If you want to solve the Nigerian problem, we all need to read the Constitution, and we then use that Constitution to hold those who we elect into office to account. That is our job as citizens of Nigeria, to whom sovereignty belongs. And unless we start doing that collectively, we will not make the changes that we need to make. And we must make those changes. We must make those changes. That's what I'm here about. That's what I'm here for. So I might not stay on for too much longer. I've got probably another 10, 20 minutes, 10 minutes more. So I'm going to read section... let me see, section 77 now. I'll read section 77 and see how far we go. 771. Subject to provisions of this constitution, every senatorial district or federal constituency established in accordance with the provisions of this chapter shall return a member who shall be directly elected to the Senate or House of Representatives in such a manner as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. Okay, fine. So the Assembly decides how a person will be elected, the National Assembly. fine. Nothing to argue about there. 2, every citizen of Nigeria who has attained the age of 18 years residing in Nigeria at the time of the registration of voters or purposes of election to a legislative house shall be entitled to be registered as a voter for that election. So everybody over the age of 18 who's a Nigerian shall be entitled to vote. That's why we are talking about people having their PVCs. Yet the constitution states that if you are over 18, you're allowed to vote. But if you notice that they are putting so much, particularly in the South, the government is putting so much hoops that people in the South will have to jump through to get their PVCs. Whereas that's not the same case in the North. We know that that's for a fact. Now, I'm not saying that to be divisive. I'm saying that's what's happening on the ground. This should be what should be happening, that every Nigerian, whether in North or South, should have the same opportunities to be able to register to vote, because it mandates there under 77(2), every citizen of Nigeria who has attained the age of 18 years residing in Nigeria at the time of registration of voters for purposes of election to a legislative house shall be entitled to be registered as a voter for that election. That should be an overriding rule. That means that INEC should make sure that nobody who's attained the age of 18 is denied the right to vote, which is what is happening. Many millions have been denied the right to vote, and yet we know those who have collected a PVC, please vote for your party of choice. Your party of choice. My case, if I were in Nigeria, I would advise my friends and family in Nigeria, the party that we want is AAC. AAC has got the plan. The plan is Spicer Heat, which is our manifesto. And the man for the job is Sowore. So that's what I would say, and I would recommend to Nigerians, because as of now, PDP has no plan for Nigerians, only their pockets. APC has no plan for Nigerians, only for their pockets. The party with the plan, with the answer to the problems that we have in Nigeria, that party for me is African Action Congress. That's my take on things, and I stand by that. And I follow the manifesto. You hear me talk about Spicer Heat. I believe firmly in that. We are taking it back. Action. Christ, JC, Homo Christo. Take it back. Action, indeed. So I'm going to read section 78 now. I wasn't going to read that, but I'll read that before I go. The registration of voters and the conduct of elections shall be subject to the direction and supervision of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Which brings me back to the point I was making before. I'm going to probably stop there now. Which brings me back to the point I was making before about encouraging Nigerians to please sign the petition. We are trying to force INEC to ensure that they ensure that all the presidential candidates are going to be on a live debate. They are going to be at a live debate. I can see Omo Elsewe now heading into Ikeja, I believe. I'm just going to, because that's why I wanted to leave, because I want to watch that myself and I want to talk about that. So I want to be part of that process. As you know, I'm following what's going on. So I want to talk about that. But before I go, I'm going to copy this petition. One final thing that I'd like every Nigerian to do. Please, I've put a petition up, and I want you to please share it among your friends and family. And basically, I want all of us to, I'm posting that now. Let me see if it shows up. Let me see. I want everyone, each and every one of us, to please share that petition. Share it and sign it. And what I'm trying to do is I'll post it again. See if I can post it. Let me see if it will let me do it. I can't pin it because it's not letting me do it on the main thing. But I've got it on there. Basically, what I want you to do is to sign this petition. That petition is asking that President Buhari be mandated to appear, to go on a live TV, with a live TV debate with Nigerians, a cross section of Nigerians in the audience, with fellow presidential candidates, and he be interviewed and questioned as to his suitability to be our president. Yes, I said it. His suitability to be our president. We are the ones who are going to elect the president. We must be given the chance to grill and question every single presidential candidate. and they must be, not only must it happen in live debate, we must also have stations, radio stations and TV stations stationed at local areas where people can go and stand and ask questions that will be beamed live to that event. So Nigerians, we want as many Nigerians as possible to participate in that event, to ask questions that relate to why this man, whoever, this Buhari and others, why they feel they are the best candidate. And they must be willing to answer the questions that Nigerians are asking them. So I'm asking you again, if you saw the podcast I had earlier on, I posted the link and I'm posting it now again. Please share this link. Tell friends and family that they need to sign this petition. And we want as many Nigerians as possible to sign it. We actually want the change.org link to actually break down to such an extent that the number of people registering their votes, that they won't be able to cope with it. And that number, we want that. I've already put the name of Mahmoud, I think the name is Mahmoud, on it for the INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, for him to take on the responsibility, since he's the one overseeing our elections, to ensure that for Nigerians to be able to make an informed decision, we demand that every presidential candidate take part in a live debate, not just one, a series of live debates across the nation, to give every Nigerian the opportunity to question those who are in power now and those who want to come in power, for them to explain to us what plans they have to make our country better, what plans they have to fix our infrastructure, what plans they have to make sure that we have healthcare, what plans they have to make sure that Section 17(3)(b), C, and D is never violated again by any local, state, or federal government. Bearing in mind that people, the workers are owed months and months of pay, and they are not paid that, which is unconstitutional. It goes against the rights of the citizens of Nigeria to whom sovereignty belongs. So these are the kind of questions I want Nigerians to be thinking of. I want you all to take a part, play a part in this, please, putting forward this constitutional this petition. Please sign it, share it. I've put it on this page. I'll see if I can share it again before I go. I doubt if I can do it. I might try it and come off and go again. But like I said, I don't want to stay too long now, because I want to go and watch the live broadcast of Sowore going to the rally, and I want to watch that live, and I'm going to talk about that and be part of that, because we need. For me, AAC is the party, so where is our man? You know, Spicer Heat is the manifesto. AAC, take it back, action. AAC, take it back, action. We need to see this so-called Buhari. If in fact is Buhari, he must appear in a live debate for people to assess his merit, whether or not he's the man for the job. He must be willing to answer questions from Nigerians. He is not above Nigerians. He is working for Nigerians. Oh, okay. It's wet traffic now. Okay. I see. Okay, I'm with you. Yes, they are. So, yeah, yes, exactly. So, what I want to do before I go, I just wanted to talk about that. Please share that information. I will see if I can pin this the petition also behind. I'll pin it under the Constitution as well, so that people can please, you know, I've pinned it on there. What I want you all, above all else, is to share that petition, sign it, encourage friends and family to share it. Listen, I'm gonna go now, and I'll be watching that show. I'm watching it. I think it's live now. Listen, where it's live, and I will talk some more. You can see him. Let me see if I can actually make that live, so you can see his. Yeah, you see his live. I'm watching it live as well, so you can see there he is. So, but I'm gonna watch that now. I thank you all for joining me for the Constitutional Hour, and thank you. Special thanks to Bright for his commentary and what he said there. It made a lot of sense, and thank you all for joining me. And we are making, you know, we have to be part of history to take our country back. Let's do everything we can. I firmly believe that if every Nigerian knows their rights within as laid down in the Constitution and begin to demand it, we will have the better governance that we are all clamoring for. But we will not have that governance if we are praying. No amount of prayer will give us the knowledge that we need, the constitutional knowledge that we need. It is only by reading our Constitution from page to page, from beginning to end, sharing that knowledge. You know, sharing that knowledge. That's the only way we can break this age-old grip of the looters in power on our mentality. We need to break it. Religion will not solve our problem. Constitution, knowing our constitutional rights, will solve the problem. So I thank you all very much. I'm gonna go. I'll be seeing you maybe next week, or I might come on live again as and when.